Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And it's been a crazy weekend. CyberPunk 2077 released just last week, and all signs were pointing in the right direction. They sold 8 million copies through pre-orders alone, and it had a 90 overall score on Metacritic. But since its launch, there has been a lot of controversy when it comes to this game. Fans are not happy, and CD Projekt Red has created a huge mess for both PlayStation and Xbox alike. I've never seen anything quite like this, and we're going to go over all of that today. Also, we've known scalping these next-generation consoles has been a huge problem since their debut. That's been no secret, of course, but it's getting out of hand by this point, and you'll understand why here in just a bit. However, I do have some good news as well, so stay tuned for that. We got a packed episode today though, so let's get right into it, starting off with Ark 2. So last week, Ark 2 got announced at the Game Awards, and it was one of the more surprising reveals at the show. I certainly wasn't expecting this, but it does make sense in hindsight. Ark is a huge game with a very large fan base, which is why I think it was a little unexpected to see this be an Xbox Series console exclusive. Usually games of this magnitude releases as a multi-platform game, so this is a big get for Xbox. I still wonder if it's timed or not, but another question fans want to know is, when are we going to get to play this ourselves? Is this coming soon, or is it a little further out? Well, we did get some new information on that, as the Wildcard CEO, Doug Kennedy, said both the animated series and Ark 2 will release in 2022. Also, Vin Diesel has some kind of creative input on Ark 2. I guess he's a big fan, and he played the original for more than 1,000 hours. So Vin Diesel is giving some kind of feedback for the sequel, though as to how involved he is, I'm not entirely sure. I do find that interesting though, but yeah, Ark 2 is planned for a 2022 release. It's still a little ways away, but let me know what you would like to see with Ark 2. Myself, I played the original quite a bit when it first released, as I was really into this game when it first launched. Unfortunately, I was playing this game by myself, and that game is not meant to be played alone, as I was constantly getting griefed in PvP servers. That's probably my own fault, as I was playing in PvP servers, so maybe I was just asking for that, but I eventually put the game on hold and just never came back. However, I would like to hear what you would like to see from a sequel to Ark Survival Evolved. Next up, one noticeable no-show for the Game Awards was Elden Ring. There was a lot of speculation that we would finally get a full reveal of From Software's next game at the Game Awards. I actually predicted it to be there myself, and unfortunately we still know next to nothing about Elden Ring. Of course, we know From Software and George R.R. Martin collaborated on it, and that's incredibly exciting all on its own. I mean, you're talking about the same studio who's worked on games like Dark Souls and Sekiro, but now we're left wondering, what does Elden Ring actually play like? What's it about, and can we expect to play it anytime soon? Well, I got some good news, because the well-respected VentureBeat journalist Jeff Grubb seems to be hinting that Elden Ring will get its full reveal soon. He doesn't give an exact date, but said one thing he heard that he can say is to have a little bit more patience, but just a little bit more. He then went on to say that doesn't mean days, and he doesn't think it quite means weeks either, but it doesn't mean months and months and months. So this is a little vague and everything, and honestly, I think it's even expected by this point. It wasn't long ago that we heard that Elden Ring got an internal delay, and it might get a summer release. If that's true, it makes sense that they would reveal it in the coming months, so this kind of fits that narrative. I do find it curious though that they decided not to show it at the Game Awards, where you're going to have a lot of eyes on it, but ultimately I expect wherever they do reveal this game, it's going to get a lot of attention either way. From Software has more than earned their reputation for making great games, and there's going to be a lot of hype for Elden Ring, regardless if it gets revealed at a big conference or if it just has a random trailer pop up online. We're starting to see that more and more as time goes on, where reveals don't have to completely rely on these big conferences. Nintendo, as an example, has actually done that a few times this year with games like Paper Mario Origami King. And speaking of Nintendo, they have an Indie World Showcase going up tomorrow on December 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now this could be worth paying attention to. I know Nintendo has been a hit or miss this year with their directs and partner showcases, but I have a sneaky good feeling that we could get a big announcement here. I'm not saying that will absolutely happen, but what if Hollow Knight Silksong shows up here? Now that would be a big announcement, and there's a few reasons that I think that could happen. Edge magazine seems to be teasing something Hollow Knight Silksong related in their upcoming magazine, but also Matthew Griffin, the marketing and PR lead for Hollow Knight, retweeted this indie showcase. Now, based off social interactions from the past, a lot of the times when you see somebody within a company retweet things like this, it can be their way of telling you need to pay attention to this event, because we're gonna be there. Now, this is just me purely speculating, but either way, I do think we're gonna get some good, interesting reveals here, and as always, I'll keep you up to date on that. Moving on, let's talk about a surprise acquisition. So it wasn't long ago when reports started to come out that Take-Two was acquiring Codemasters, and that seemed like a great pickup for Take-Two. They do have their own sports division, and Codemasters with their expertise on racing games, it just seemed like a great match. Well, EA decided they would be a better fit instead because they got into a bidding war over the weekend, and EA ended up winning Codemasters on a huge $1.2 billion deal. Yeah, EA really wanted them, and it's kind of a similar situation. I think Codemasters fits in well with EA. I know EA has their issues and everything, but Codemasters will fit in with EA Sports, and they also have the Need for Speed franchise as well. That could be a nice bonus because maybe Codemasters could possibly work on Need for Speed in the future if they want. Need for Speed is one of the biggest racing franchises ever, and they're perfectly suited to do just that. And actually, this is kind of good news for Xbox as well. I know most people probably don't realize this immediately, but with EA Play being included with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you might get some Codemaster games in Xbox Game Pass rather soon. Let's talk about CyberPunk though, because we got a lot to go over here. It's really hard to keep up with this game by this point because this game has just been constantly in the news since it released, and not for the reasons that you want to be. Now, before I get started, let me just start off by saying this. I've been playing CyberPunk over the last few days on the Xbox Series X, and it runs great. The frame rate seems to be smooth at 60 frames per second, the world is absolutely fantastic, and I've not run into any kind of major issues myself. But unfortunately, it really depends on what device you're playing this game on and what kind of experience you're going to have. And that right there is the problem. Reviews went up last week as we talked about, but this was the PC version where it scored a 90 overall score on Metacritic. Meanwhile, the console version is having major problems, and to be specific here, this is last generation consoles where most people will be playing. The PS4 and Xbox One are having major issues. Bugs and performance issues are just rampant with CyberPunk, and it almost seems like this game was not meant to run on last generation consoles, or at least yet. Now, if you're lucky enough to be able to play this game on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, it runs great as I said. Keep in mind though, it's running through backwards compatibility, so it's technically not a next generation game. Even then, it does run great, and it's a good game as you would expect. But again, the majority of console users will be playing on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. You have to remember that we're still early in the generation, and most people haven't gotten their new console yet, and this has led to a lot of backlash. I mean, I've even been seeing pictures go up of retailers warning customers of these bugs, and then you have OpenCritic, which posted a warning alongside the reviews. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy when it comes to CyberPunk, and it's gotten to the point that CD Projekt Red responded to the entire situation. Over on Twitter, they shared a pretty lengthy apology where they let customers know they are working on these issues, and they expect 2 large patches to go up in January and February. However, if you're still dissatisfied with your experience, you can request a refund. Yes, if you're not happy, you can go out and get your money back by requesting a refund. But did CD Projekt Red actually talk to PlayStation about this? Multiple reports are starting to come out that PlayStation is refusing to refund Cyberpunk and instead tells customers to wait for the patches to release. This seems to be linked to their refund policies, and they're kind of infamous for not having the best customer service. Now, to be fair, I've also heard a few Xbox users having a similar issue, but that does seem to be much more rare. If you do have a problem on Xbox though, I would highly recommend just calling somebody at Microsoft, and from the sounds of it, they'll probably get that taken care of. Still though, this whole thing is just an absolute mess. I've never seen a situation quite like this, and CD Projekt Red's stock is not looking good right now. I think shareholders are kind of wondering about the longevity of Cyberpunk, and even though it's sold a lot day one, how's it going to sell in the long run, and how many people are going to refund Cyberpunk? It also kind of makes you wonder if they should have just focused on making this a next-generation exclusive, or at the very least, delay the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 version until they got those issues fixed up. This seems to be a management problem where they wanted to rush Cyberpunk out for the holiday sales, but even then, it was originally meant to release way back in April. I mean, can you imagine what it would have been like if it released back then? Now, as for its current release, maybe they just didn't want to delay it once again, but yeah. With that said, let me know what your experience has been with Cyberpunk if you own this game. Again, for me, it's been great as I'm playing on the Xbox Series X, and I think it's a pretty good game, but I want to know your experience and what platform you're playing it on. On to our last topic though, scalping continues to be absurd. Now, we've talked about this several times on the channel. The PS5 and Xbox Series X are having some stock issues. Demand for these consoles are incredibly high, and it's just hard getting either one during the holiday. Now, I will actually have some good news on that here in just a moment, but not only are you competing with other fans online, but now scalpers are using bots to buy up these consoles immediately so they can then sell them for double the price. Well, we got some numbers today on just how bad this situation is, and check this out. Reportedly, 33,000 PS5s were sold on eBay through December 1st, and the Xbox Series X sold another 30,000 units. The Series X median price was $865 on eBay, and the PS5 disc version was $1,021, and the PS5 digital went for $937. That is insane. I mean, you're talking about scalpers selling millions of dollars worth of next-generation consoles. Yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous. I hate to hear that, but customers are still buying them. This is why scalpers are able to do this, because some people are willing to pay that premium price so they don't have to wait. I, however, would encourage customers to wait it out and not pay double the price, as you don't want to reward scalpers for drying up all the stock, because this is becoming more and more common, not just with consoles, but it seems like everything anymore. But, well, it's not my money, and I can't make that decision for you. Ultimately, that decision comes down to you, but I do have some good news here as well. Luckily, it seems like Best Buy will have some Xboxes and PS5s in stock tomorrow after 8 a.m. Central Time. Now, you're going to want to prepare here if you're looking to buy either console. They're going to go quick, so as a heads up, get ready to refresh your page as quick as possible tomorrow. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.